Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday, April 1st at 7:01 p.m. and we are in regular session tonight. I'd like to start by acknowledging that here in Athens County, we live and work on land initially settled and developed by earlier people, especially the Shawnee and the Osage, and those identified through cultures, commonly known as the Adena, Hopewell, and Fort Ancient. This acknowledgement reminds us of the importance of honoring history, people, and the planet as we work to improve our city's legacy. Our first order of business tonight is to establish quorum. All council members are present, and we have quorum. Before we move on, I do want to ask that everybody please find a seat. We need to have the ability to leave the building in a timely manner. If there's an emergency, there's a seat here. Are there any other seats? If you have a seat next to you, please raise your hand. Open seat. There's one up here in the front. Thank you. This is okay with me. If you want to go, Jana Lee, if you want to go around the corner there, that leaves us a little bit better of an access point there. Thank you all. Our next item of business is disposition of the minutes of the regular session of council held on March 18th, 2024. May I have a motion for approval of these minutes?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The minutes have been approved. We now have communications. I have a notification of a Division of Liquor Control transfer. This is a notification of a D1 and D2 liquor permit transfers from Athens Uncorked 21 LLC, doing business as Athens Uncorked, and Mezzanine, 14 Station Street and Patio, to JSF Wine and Spirits LLC, and Mezzanine, same address. If there are no objections, the clerk will return the notice with no request for a hearing. Are there any objections from council? Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge approximately 40 communications from our citizenry, both by email and by telephone call, regarding the desire that the City of Athens join in the Council of Governments for Resource Management. Do other council members have any communications this evening? Member Wood?
I would add, along with those emails, and thank you for those, we've also gotten about a dozen or so as well in support of the Baileys and that project, and wanted to add that, and a lot of COG support right now.
Thank you, Member Wood. I would agree. Other members? Yes, Member McCary.
Thank you, President Krell. I agree with the number of emails we've received in support of both the COG and the Bailey's Trail System. And also, as a separate communication, just want to commemorate yesterday as being the White House's first acknowledgement of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, or Visibility, excuse me, Transgender Day of Remembrance. Wow, Transgender Day of Visibility, and I want to thank our administration for flying the trans flag. The mayor may wish to comment on that later.
Other members of council. Member Swank.
I guess I'll pile on too. I'd like to acknowledge the great number of emails, phone calls, and texts we've received, particularly in relation to our trash contract, including a very well orchestrated series of emails in the last 24 hours from a group of Ohio University students who very much engaged. I have re-engaged with those folks, simply encourage them to show the same sort of enthusiasm this fall when it comes time to get registered to vote. Unfortunately, in a town that prides itself on its tolerance of opinions, differences of opinions, we got quite a few emails which were downright disappointing, some vicious, particularly the ones that attacked the character and motivation of at least one elected official in this room today. That was very disturbing. Later today, the next to the last item on our agenda is an opportunity for citizens to speak. I hope when that time comes around that those who choose to speak will follow the civility of the first group of emails we got, which were well thought out and well reasoned, and not fall into a pattern of the last 8 hours of emails, which in some cases were extremely vicious and out of line. Thank you.
Any other members of council wishing to share communications? Okay, we'll move on to reports and communications from other elected officials. Law Director Eliason,
No.
Auditor Hecht.
Just two things to let council know that we just, this past week, finished our audit. A state auditor came down to audit just our police and fire pension fund, and we got a perfect report on that, which we're very happy about. We have a wonderful payroll administrator for the city who's very good at what she does and, detail-oriented and really does a good job. It's complicated, our payroll. So we're very happy about that because at the same time, the state auditors doing our general audit have already started, and we're here this last week. And I think council has received an email from them. I forget what it was about, but anyway, that will be ongoing through June probably. It's due at the end of June, and it will go into June for that. So I'll keep you posted. But so far, I think it's going pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you, Auditor. Treasurer Thomas. Mayor Patterson.
I have one item to share with council, and I think there's probably people here that want to speak on this. So I want to give an update on West Union, the West Union Street project. The Service Safety Director has put this together for me. Project that was originally envisioned in 2017 through multiple delays and obstacles, including a pandemic, massive inflationary pressures, and 3 attempts at trying to get a successful bid through. The project is finally underway, but due to the saturation of the market, in order to get contractors to bid on this, we had to both raise the estimated engineer's cost as well as extend the amount of time available for construction. We certainly recognize the impact of the traveling public and the area businesses. We are pushing the contractor to finish all the work on Herald Drive as fast as possible so it returns to bi-directional travel. And also, we are asking the contractor, Shelley and Sands, to provide a change order cost for us to complete phase 4 early on the western half of the project. And that is from the West Union Bridge to the fairgrounds so that two-way traffic can be reintroduced on that section by August. They have not provided a firm price yet, but there are early indications that when they do, the city will definitely have to pay handsomely to have that change order come through. The contract includes the services of a community liaison to assist affected property owners with maintenance of traffic concerns. We do not believe that the contractor has met this requirement as robustly as they could, so we're pushing them to make the liaison more available to property owners, particularly when they have specific events or other needs. Also, we ask the public to not take it upon themselves to move the signs or barricades in that work zone. Over the past weekend, someone other than the contractor or city entered the work zone and moved quite a few of the signs to adjust the flow of traffic. This is not only illegal, this is extremely dangerous and could lead to someone being hurt or worse yet, killed. So I wanted to share that with council and for those of you who are here today.
Thank you, Mayor. We will now move on to ordinances for third reading. I'll remind the audience that I will read the number and title of the ordinance, and then it will be handled by the representative, the chair of the committee. Ordinance 25-24 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 62-23, authorizing preliminary engineering services for the State Route 682-56 intersection improvements project number 357, introduced by Councilmember Spionis.
Thank you, President Kroll. So this was introduced earlier in 2023, but as it said, is amended to add, whereas the construction cost estimate after the completed Stage 1 design is approximately $3.7 million, and whereas the city administration is directing the design firm to expand the project scope to include select improvements to State Route 682 north of the intersection to the city limits in support of traffic and bike and pedestrian safety, additions that will increase the construction cost estimate, and whereas the city administration will implore ODOT to significantly increase the award of outside funding to address the various needs and higher costs. So then in section 2, the sum of $750,000 to the street fund 572 transaction code 500 from $350,000. So a significant increase, but sadly much needed. Section 3, the Service Safety Director is further authorized to expend up to $750,000 from the Street Rehabilitation Fund, transaction code 572 and 500 for said project 357. So it's important to get this done for the safety of our community. So I recommend that we pass it.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve ordinance 25-24. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion of this ordinance? Other elected officials? Members of the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of ordinance 25-24 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ordinance is passed. Ordinance 26-24 is an ordinance amending Athens City Code, Title 17, Municipal Income Tax, Chapter 17.01, Section 17.01.011B, Authority to Levy Tax, and 17.01.012, Purposes of Tax, Rate, and Chapter 17.01.09, Annual Return, Section 17.01.091A, 1, Return and Payment of Tax. And this is introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you can see from the title, it's rather involved. We have a copy of the ordinance on your drive if you care to read it. We discussed this ordinance in committee. It's been read twice. The auditor has testified to it. The reason that we're making a change to our tax code is the state of Ohio has made changes to the Ohio Revised Code, and this brings us in line with the state of Ohio as we're supposed to be. So I make a motion that we adopt.
Second.
24.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 26-24. Are there any comments from council on this ordinance? Any discussion? Mayor Patterson, city administration, elected officials, anyone from the audience? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 26-24 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ordinance is approved. Ordinance 27-24 is an ordinance amending the 2024 appropriation ordinance 130-23, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 27-24.
Seconded?
Thank you, Member McCary. This ordinance has been discussed rather extensively in committee, I think twice, and it's been read twice. The city is experiencing a slight budget crunch at the moment, and there was questions raised about the feasibility and the viability of this ordinance, but it's been determined, especially through the Ohio Supreme Court rulings, that such a request is perfectly legal and necessary. So Section 1 reads, "The City Council finds the court funding request to be reasonable and does hereby amend the 2024 Appropriation Ordinance 130-23 by appropriating from the unappropriated balance the sum of $115,000 to General Fund Municipal Court 101.106, Transaction Code 100, and increasing the total appropriations by said amount." Section 2, the 2024 Appropriation Ordinance 130-23 is further amended by decreasing diversion funds 232, Transaction Code 100 by $44,900 and decreasing DUI Court Fund 237, Transaction Code 100 by $66,500 and decreasing the total appropriation by said amount. Section 3, the ordinance shall be in effect and full force upon passage and approval by the mayor.
We have a motion and a second for approval of 27-24. Are there any comments or discussion? Member Swank.
As Mr. Reisner said, there was quite a bit of discussion on this, particularly about numbers related to the diversion program. The diversion programs, there are 4. And after several requests, we did receive a very comprehensive report from the court, which was distributed to all members of council on or about March the 11th. A couple of things I'd like to point out. Over $60,000 was raised through the diversion program fees. But more importantly, there's some trends here that are very, very interesting, both in the substance abuse diversion program and the driving under suspension diversion program. In recent years, the number of people entering those programs has declined considerably. That could mean a couple of things, but I think we would all view that as a good thing. One thing I would like to point out, though, is per the Ohio Judicial Conference Budget Resource Handbook for Ohio judges and their funding authorities, hopefully this coming year as we start the budget process, that we can have this conversation in the fall rather than in the spring so that we can fund the court appropriately as early as possible.
Thank you, Member Swank. I'll also note that we did receive from the court also a number of testimonials from people who had been through these programs and had very positive experiences in going through those programs. Any other questions or comments from City Council on this ordinance? City Administration? Auditor? Okay, anybody from the public like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of ordinance 27-24 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ordinance is approved. We will now move on to ordinances for second reading. There are 2. I will read the title and the council member introducing, and then pause to see if there are any comments. If there are none, we'll just move through the titles of the ordinances. Ordinance 28-24 is an ordinance amending the 2024 Appropriation Ordinance 130-23 and authorizing an interfund transfer. It's introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 30-24 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 65-23, authorizing engineering services for rehabilitation of the Stimpson Avenue Bridge, project number 358, introduced by Councilmember Spianis. Okay, seeing no comments on our ordinances for second reading, we will now move on to ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 31-24 is an ordinance granting a special right-of-way use permit at 74 and 74.5 North Court Street to replace an existing balcony located in the city right-of-way, introduced by Councilmember Swank.
This is a granting of a right-of-way, and a right-of-way not only is on the ground but also extends above the ground. In this case, it would be a balcony at 74 and 74.5 North Court Street. As you're headed down Court Street towards the Armory, that's the last building before you make that right down the, I believe it's the Fern Street Alley. I'll just read the first section. Having satisfactorily met the regulations established pursuant to Title 49, management, administration, and control of the use of the city's public rights-of-way, a special right-of-way use permit is hereby granted at 74 and 74.5 North Court Street to Monel LLC, owner on behalf of applicant Robert Preby, Uptown Realty Group LLC to replace an existing balcony in the city right-of-way as indicated on the application attached hereto and is incorporated herein by reference. This balcony has been replaced. It's a major improvement to the one that was there before, probably predating 1960, and this will make it legal and official.
Are there any comments or discussion from council members on this ordinance? City administration? Anyone from the public? Okay, 31-24 is read for the first time. Ordinance 32-24 is an ordinance granting a special right-of-way use permit at 32 West Carpenter Street to create a patron drop-off area located in the city right-of-way, introduced by Councilmember Swank.
This request is in that same neighborhood. Proceed on down Court Street to the Armory, make a left on Carpenter, and get to the corner where you find the former Mount Zion Baptist Church. I'll read the first section. Having satisfactorily met the regulations established pursuant to Title 49, Management, Administration, and Control of the Use of the City's Public Rights-of-Way, a special right-of-way use permit is hereby granted at 32 West Carpenter to Mount Zion Black Cultural Center owner on behalf of applicant Susan Riggy to create a patron drop-off area in the city right-of-way as indicated on the application attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. So when you get to the corner of Carpenter and North Congress, you make a right, and there's going to be a cutout drop-off point. The mayor pointed out last week, very, very similar to what we have in front of the Methodist Church right back, where am I? Right back here. Be much safer. It's far enough away from the corner. We will need to take out one tree, but it's a very, very, very old Bradford pear that is in bad shape. So we'll be able to upgrade the tree in the process too.
Thank you, Member Swank. Any comments or discussion from council members? Anything to add from city administration or the public? So you'll have to approach the podium and tell us your name and your address, and then you may address this issue. Thank you.
Hi. I'll write it down first and then do it.
So you can just tell us tonight.
I'm Brittany Anderson, live in 19 East Carpenter Street, like right out by Family Dollar. Isn't it left instead of right?
It'll be a right turn from Carpenter onto North Congress. And then the pull-off will be right there. But if you're coming from the other direction, it would be a left.
I've seen Fern Street when at the light, I thought it was left, not right. So I'm very confused. It's okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay, any other comments? Thank you. Moving on, read for the first time. Moving on to ordinance 33-24, an ordinance amending ordinance 02-24, authorizing a city fiber network, project 347, introduced by Councilmember McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. We have discussed this project number 347 for most of this year, and we have needed to allocate additional funds from ARPA, and that is the only fund that we have used to fund this project. I will go ahead and read ordinance 33-24 with the section 2 changes. The Service Safety Director is hereby authorized to expend up to $610,000 from ARPA Fund 286 for said project, and that is up from the original estimated cost of $500,000. Again, this technology is needed to improve communication between places like our city building that we're in now and Arts West and eventually the Armory, and much of the project has already been completed, so much credit goes to the administration for proactively thinking about purchasing additional fiber for this kind of project.
Thank you, Member McCary. Any comments or questions from council? Member Swank.
Was there discussion last week, and I apologize if I just let this slip my mind, that there might be a possibility down the road, I'll emphasize the word might, there might be a possibility down the road for Wi-Fi in that area, city-supplied Wi-Fi, and then the second part, that perhaps residents might be able to tie into that, or am I just imagining that?
No, you're not imagining that, Councilmember Swank. That is part of what we're examining right now. I will share with council that I was up at a conference in Columbus last week, and one of the items that was discussed was the potential exposure that any entity has when you have Wi-Fi out there, but there are security systems that can be put in place. And so as we're continuing to explore this and look into it, just know that we're going to have to put some pretty robust security measures in place so it isn't something that becomes a portal for us, you know, having our system breached and someone deploying ransomware and holding the city hostage, which isn't a good thing.
Any other comments or questions from council? Anything else to add, Mayor, City Administration, or the public? Okay, moving on to ordinance 34-24, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to renew a 5-year contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated to upgrade body-worn cameras and tasers for the Athens Police Department, introduced by Councilmember McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. I will read, whereas the equipment is specialized technology with programming services that are proprietary, limited to a single source provider that currently provides tasers to the city, and therefore competitive bidding is not required, and whereas an appropriation will be part of the annual budget for the term of the contract, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Athens, Ohio, that Section 1, the Service Safety Director is hereby authorized to renew a 5-year contract with Axon Enterprise, Inc., a copy of which is attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, to upgrade body-worn cameras and tasers for the Athens Police Department. Section 2 reads that the Service Safety Director is hereby authorized to expend up to $376,000 from the General Fund Police for said 5-year renewal contract. Section 3 indicates that the 2024 Appropriation Ordinance 130-23 is hereby amended by appropriating from the unappropriated balance the sum of $6,500 to General Fund Police 101.207 for additional costs associated with the second half-year payment. This ordinance shall be in effect in full force upon its passage and approval by the mayor. When discussed during committee, we clarified that this is not a new purchase of technology that wasn't previously used by OUPD, but rather an update in the case of the body cams, which we know to be shown to provide very important information in all kinds of investigations and situations. So I would encourage council to support this.
Thank you, Member McCary, and I'll just note that Member McCary wears many hats in our city, and although he said OUPD, he meant Athens Police Department.
Thank you.
Trying to steal our money.
And that's fine.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions for Member McCary on this issue? Anything to add from the city administration?
No, other than council did ask the question last committee meeting, you know, as to why the increase. And I received that information from Chief Magruder. And bear in mind that this is a 10 to 15% increase annually. It is under a 5-year contract, so it won't be increasing each year. It'll be just the contract shows that same increase for the next 5 years. And the bulk of that increase comes from a necessary upgrade in the taser itself. We're currently using Taser 7s, and Axon said they're going to be phasing those out and introducing Taser 10s, and that's what this will be. Is the bulk of that increase is a upgraded system that is incorporated with the camera and the holster that someone carries to where everything is it ensures that the cameras are rolling and recording is taking place, audio and video recording is taking place during the whatever that incident is.
Thank you for that update. Are there any comments from the public on this issue? Please approach a podium, give us your name and your address and your comments.
Hi, Rebecca Wood. And yes, my only concern is, does that include training for the officers who would be using that new equipment?
Excellent question. Mayor, do you know?
It does.
It does.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from the audience on this? Okay, thank you. We will move, that has been read for the first time, and we're moving to the last of our first reading ordinances. Ordinance 35-24, an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to accept the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, 2024 Energized Community Grant Funds, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me read the ordinance. Whereas the City of Athens is a member of the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, and is eligible for one or more NOPEC Energized Community NEC grants for 2024 as provided for in the NEC Grant Program Guidelines, and whereas NEC grants are intended to be used by member communities for energy efficiency or energy infrastructure projects, and whereas the City of Athens has previously entered into a grant agreement with NOPEC, Inc. to receive one or more NEC grants, be it ordained by the City of Athens, County of Athens, and State of Ohio, Section 1. The Council of the City of Athens finds and determines that it is in the best interest of the city to accept said grants, and hereby authorizes the mayor to enter into the 2024 NOPEC Energized Community NEC Grant Agreement, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2. The City Council finds and determines that all formal actions of the City Council concerning and relating to the passage of this ordinance were taken in open meetings of the City Council, and that all deliberations of the City Council and of any of its committees that result in said formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with the law. Section 3, the ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage and approval by the mayor. I'd just like to add, since this is money to the city, I strongly suggest we approve it.
Thank you, Member Reisner. Any comments or additional comments or questions from City Council on this ordinance? Anything to add, Mayor? City Administration? Anyone from the public? Thank you, and that has been read for the first time. We are now moving on to announcements and other business, and we have one item on our agenda this evening, which is appointments to the Environment and Sustainability Commission. Council members have the resumes of these three individuals on their drive. They are all very impressive and promising. And I'll turn this over to Member Clodfelter.
Thank you, President Krell. I am the City Council representative to the city's Environment and Sustainability Commission, and we, as the commission members, have been delighted to receive applications to join our commission from three very highly qualified members of our community. And it's kind of a bonus that they're all young and younger than a lot of people who do an excellent job of serving on our city commissions. It's nice to have some young people getting involved. I move to appoint the following three individuals, and then I will speak briefly about each of them. Those individuals are Daniel Bell Moran, Shane Benton, and Nicole Mazzone. Daniel Bell Moran has a Master's of Science in Environmental Studies from the Voinovich School at Ohio University that he got in 2023. He has kind of worked at the intersection of business and climate change, looking at corporate investments that will benefit the climate and also ways that small businesses can take climate action as well. So he will bring an interesting perspective. Shane Benton is currently working for Rural Action in the Sustainable Agriculture Program. He is the manager for food access. And as that very cool title suggests, he works in programs like the Country Fresh Stops and the Produce RX program and the Farm to Food Pantry program. And he's just all about getting healthy local food to more people, which I think is laudable. And Nicole Mazzone is equally well qualified. She has a Master of Science in a Master's of Science in Environmental Science from the Voinovich School at Ohio University. She has worked on water quality issues for years now. She has focused on the point source pollution sources and cleaning those up. And she has also focused on creating new wetlands. So we have 3 different areas of focus from 3 very qualified people, and I move to appoint those 3 individuals to the city's Environment and Sustainability Commission.
Second.
Thank you, Member Thomas. There's been a motion and a second to appoint these 3 members to the Environment and Sustainability Commission. Are there any questions or comments? Member Spielness.
I just have a quick question. So how many total members can you have?
We have a 9-person commission. And we
Okay.
had 3 members whose terms were up. They
Okay.
had they are serving their terms, they're just about to step down. And so these 3 people have applied at exactly the right time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Member Swank?
And along those lines, I know with many of our boards and commissions, we have certain residency requirements. With the appointment of these 3 people, will we be within those guidelines for this commission?
That is a good question, and yes, we will. On our commission, we have 2 positions for people who live outside the city of Athens, but all 3 of these individuals live within the city limits.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Member McCary.
Thank you. I just want to thank Member Clodfelder for the additional information about the wonderful backgrounds that each person will bring to this commission. And for the public's information, if you're interested in any boards and commissions, you can find them very easily on our city council or city website. Just Googling Athens City Council or City of Athens boards and commissions will let you know which boards have vacancies, and you can reach out to members of council or administration for information about how you can be involved in contributing to anything from the Shade Tree Commission to the Athens Community Relations Commission or Commission on Disabilities.
Thank you, Member McCary. Are there any comments from the public? Yes, please.
Microphone? Good evening. I'm Amy Delac, the chair of the Environment and Sustainability Commission, and I just want to extend my thanks to Member Clodfelter for bringing these 3 nominations forward. The commission at our meeting last month approved all 3 unanimously. We are very excited to have them on board. Look forward to the council approving them all. And since there's a big room here, I'll just make a plug. Our next meeting is this Wednesday at 6 p.m. downstairs in the Berry Conference Room, and everyone is welcome to attend. Thank you very much, members of council.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of these 3 members for the Environment and Sustainability Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Congratulations, the 3 members have been appointed. We now have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services that are not covered on tonight's agenda. I believe we have quite a few people here in attendance tonight that would like to speak on an issue or issues. I want to remind the public that we will allow you to come forward in an orderly fashion, as we've seen the previous speakers, to the podium, providing your name and your address and whether you represent a group. We will allow 3 minutes for each speaker, and our council rules, and I will read, quote, "There's no debate, disrespect, or obscenities that are tolerated." So please share your information with us, and we're very happy to hear from you. So we'll just start. Please.
Andy Boat, 91425 Five Points Road, Athens, Ohio. I am the board president of the Athens Hocking Recycling Center. Before I get started, I go off what Mr. Swank, Councilman Swank said earlier. First, I'd like to start with some gratitude. Gratitude towards the administration, namely you, Mayor Patterson, Director Stone, Director Riggs, as well as Andrew Chickey. This has been a very, very long process in trying to form this COG, and you guys have been to about every single meeting. So your presence there and your input is very much appreciated. A couple council members, I'd like to say the same thing for Councilmember Thomas, Councilmember Clodfelter, Councilmember Swank, Councilmember Reisner, and you as well, Mr. President. I thank you for the phone calls, the time you've taken to discuss with us this very important issue. That being said, I want to piggyback on what Councilmember Swank alluded to earlier. I was made aware of a lot of derogatory comments made towards people downright threats and just vicious dialogue. Athens Hockey Recycling Center does not condone that. We're not into that at all. We understand we're a partnership. We want to work with you guys. So my apologies on behalf of the board that I represent for any attacks any one of you have all received. It's not what we want to be. It's not who we are. Lastly, and I'll make this quick because it is a full room, we are nearing the finish line. We are getting close to being able to get this thing formed, and you know, the sooner we can get the discussions going and the participation, we can get this COG underway, and hopefully we can start resuming services by maybe August, maybe a little bit later, but we'd love to do it by August. We're grateful for the city of Athens, but unfortunately our economic future is not great at all. And in order for us to survive, based on the amount of infrastructure we have and the amount of infrastructure we support, we do need the city of Athens to be part of our program. While I still have a little bit of time left, if any of members of council has questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. But if nothing less, I wanted to say thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vogt. I didn't mean to comment that please be good listeners and listen to our citizens speak. And if you have new information or additional information to add, we more than welcome your comments. If you have the exact same information to add, let's try to hear from people who have something new to add, okay? Thank you. Please, next citizen.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Schonk. I am the current organics processor at Athens Hockey Recycling Center. I live out on McDougal, which is just off 550. I would like to first thank everybody for being here, members of the council, and this massive audience we have here today. I am trying to add something new to the conversation, so I'm going to try to put this as personal as it relates to me. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. So I was informed a few months ago that the financial situation at the Athens Hockey Recycling Center was not so promising. So much so that we had to cut my full-time organics processing job into a part-time position, where now I'm on the back of a truck or on the sorting line, which isn't exactly what I went to school for. I went to school at Ohio University for sustainable horticulture, and I graduated in 2018, the same year that the last Athens Sustainability Plan was written. So while I was a senior in college studying that sustainability plan, it kind of gave me a high hope for living here in Athens and the way things were progressing. I was fortunate enough to find this job at the Athens Hockey Recycling Center as the organics processor. It kind of checked all my boxes. It was a union position. I got a physical workout at work. I wasn't behind a desk. It's one of the well-paying jobs here in Athens. I have health insurance, life insurance, dental, vision, the whole 9 yards. And I felt very fortunate, and I'm honored to have this position in our community. I am nervous and shaken here today because it is on the line, and the people that can decide my fate and future here are the people in front of me. And I'm hoping that for the sake of me, my family that is growing, I have 2 twin daughters now that are 8 months old. And I really saw a future in Athens for my family, as well as other families around. And I think that without the Athens Hockey Recycling Center, the future is bleak. We need more support for the Athens Hockey Recycling Center. I think that we need to keep these jobs in our town. I get a lot of people coming to me like, oh, hey, I want your job. That's so cool. You're like saving the environment. I want other people to have my job. I want to be working side by side with passionate individuals that want to save the environment. Rumpke is not going to do that for us. The Athens Hockey Recycling Center is actively educating the public for free. I can see it progressing much further where we're getting into the elementary schools and educating our children about compost and the proper ways to divert waste from a landfill. That won't happen if Athens Hockey Recycling Center is gone. Like I said, I have kids and a family I'm really trying to look out for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schonk.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate all of you. I know you are here because you care about our city. I'm part of Athens Rethink Plastics. I want to talk about plastics.
Give us your name too, please, Nancy. Thank you.
Who said that?
I did.
Sandy. Nancy Pierce.
Thank you, Nancy.
Many experts are now saying that plastics are as much of a threat to our environment as climate change. And Rumpke is sending our plastics, if Rumpke has our contract, and they are now sending our plastics for chemical recycling or pyrolysis. That means burning the plastics. And as we've said before, plastics contain thousands of toxic chemicals, and they're basically not identified. Many are toxic. When plastics are burned, as happens when our plastic recycling is sent for chemical recycling or pyrolysis, which Rumpke is doing, those toxins come into our environment. Chemical recycling or pyrolysis, and those are tiny bit different, but we don't need to go into that tonight. I mean, they signify parts of the same thing, very close. Chemical recycling is the latest deceit by the oil and gas industry and plastic industries to convince the public that it's fine to have plastics because they're recyclable. I'm going to read one thing from this Chemical Recycling, A Dangerous Deception, which is a major report partially put out by Beyond Plastics, which is basically our favorite. I think I can say this for, I don't know if any of the rest of us are here from, oh, there she is. It's one of our favorite organizations. Chemical recycling is inefficient, energy intensive. They have to use fossil fuels to, quote, recycle plastic with chemical recycling. And it contributes to climate change, of course. According to government researchers, the energy needs of chemical recycling can create as much as 100 times more damaging environmental and climate impacts than virgin plastic production. You know, we can say a lot about plastic pollution, environmental justice. We know where plants like Brightmark, which is one of the places where Rumpke sends to, it's in Indiana. It's a chemical recycling facility. We know where they're put into underserved communities. So it's an environmental justice issue. Oh, is that my 3 minutes? You know, I want to go ahead and say, I think that what we are really encouraging council to do is pass a resolution asking the city administration to proceed with the COG so that it can occur before AHRC, not getting contract money from the city, is not able to continue as a facility.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce.
I'm Barb Campanola, and I live at 40 Longview. I'm Mayor Patterson's neighbor. And I've lived here since 1970, and I've owned 2 restaurants, a food cart, went to school when I was 50, and ran a nonprofit for 18 years. So I really understand the problem of money and managing people, and there's a lot that goes into it. But I'm here to talk about our values. Our community is kind of built around, I mean, I'm an organic farm gardener, and I use the compost. I love it. I work for an indoor air quality company, Sterling, and it's kind of shocking what's in our air. And I just urge council to take up the Council of Governments so we can align with the values of so many of our community members. You know, it is our value. And if I don't live here because of corporate America, I live here because we're local. So that's what I wanted to say.
I'm Jessie Powers, Executive Director of the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia, which is what I'm here to talk about today. So this is a follow-up. First, I would like to thank council and members of the public that spoke up in support of the Bailey's Trail System following an annual report that I presented on February 26th during follow-on discussion that occurred on March 11th. Just want to clarify for council, as director, my responsibilities include collecting annual membership dues. My comments on February 26th regarding wiggle room flexibility were in reference to the additional perceived 6 weeks of readings that were needed to amend legislation in order for City Council to contribute their annual payment. I did not mean that membership dues weren't needed as soon as possible. Orca bylaws indicate membership dues are to be paid in January of each year annually. Additionally, at that same meeting, Orca's salary structure was presented as inaccurately, and I would just like to clarify for council that to remind them that to build the Bailey's Trail System was projected to take 3 years if we had the upfront capital to do that. However, we did not. Orca has secured more than $10.6 million of development funding to construct a one-of-a-kind $9.1 million asset, the Bailey's Trail System, the Bookdale Snow Fork Trailhead of the Bailey's Trail System, and the Bailey's Trail System Visitor Hub. I remain open and available should you have any further questions. Thank you for the time to clarify.
Thank you, Ms. Powers.
It's Rebecca Wood again, and I've been a long-time resident of Athens County and currently right now Athens City. I have 22 years as a professor at Hocking College. Sad to see where that's at now. And I want to look back at how amazing Athens, Hocking, Vinton County was when we began the House Bill 592. I was the president of the board of Rural Action as it had just emerged from AOPIC, Appalachian Overall Public Interest Campaign. And some of these people helped write some of the language from this region that went on to the EPA and became that legislation. Let's look forward. Let's not march backwards. It's shameful if we don't move forward and keep this county being responsible for their own wastes in a sustainable manner.
Thank you.
Hello. Am I on? Okay. My name's Sean White. I live on North Schaefer Street. I'm going to refrain from giving my full address so I don't get my house egged. But I represent Little Fish Brewing Company. So we've been happily a customer of Athens Hocking Recycling Center for 8.5 years now. They've provided great service. Whenever we have had an issue, we've just been able to call someone right at Athens Hocking and talk directly with someone. It's usually, calling up. I remember speaking with a guy named Bruce a lot in the past. It's been a while since I've had to call, honestly. But whenever we have a problem, we can just sort it out. They'll come and make a trash pickup. If we have too much trash, they're there like that day or the next day to help us out. This future with Rumpke, it's an unknown, right? But just in my experience as a business owner, these larger companies that operate from a business center that's in a different state or whatever, they just don't have this level of service. When we have our CO2 company, which they're horrible. They're a big mega conglomerate CO2 company, not a small business, and we can't get just one person on the phone to just talk to and have no problem and be able to speak to. So if they overfill our tanks and CO2 goes shooting out into the air, and we have to call and be on the phone with these guys for hours to try and, just get somebody to help us or to get somebody to, give us the money back that they wasted. So I'm scared about this Rumpke thing. I just feel like it just seems going into this impersonal nature that just doesn't really reflect to me what I think a lot of people here feel like what Athens is about, right? And also, we just want to make sure that our recycling is still going to actual recycling. So that's a little scary to me, some of the things that I've heard recently about what Rumpke may be doing with the actual recycling. So I think I speak for everyone at Little Fish when I say, we understand the importance of balancing a budget and reducing costs, whether that be for a city, or for a small business, or for an individual household. But at the end of the day, for us at least, we would be willing to pay more money if it means that to keep Athens Hocking Recycling on.
Yep.
Thanks.
Heather Cantino, Cable Lane. I would just like to mention some of the language in the original bid prospectus for the trash contract last year. This quote, "The city reserves the right to reject any or all bids and is not bound to accept the lowest cost response if that response is not in the best interest of the city. And as the city desires to become a zero-waste community, a sustainability-focused waste management plan is integral to the overall success of the city's commitment to reducing solid waste and increasing waste diversion." AHRC was built to provide services for Athens, and in the process was able to provide recycling for all of the county. That will all disappear when AHRC goes down. AHRC is also cost effective because it works at cost, it's mission driven, and it will not raise prices except as inflation requires. We know that Rumpke is now going to local business and successfully luring them away by threatening to have the price doubled if they wait when AHRC goes out of business. You can go around and see Rumpke trucks that have been, Rumpke cans that are replacing AHRC cans now. They are threatening to do that, and they have a history of that, and you've, I think, all maybe gotten the documents that a couple of people put together on their history of increasing, even doubling, when the contract is renewed. I guess it's Scioto Lawrence has had that happen, and it's not just inflation, excuse me, that precedes the periods of high inflation. So AHRC provides local problem solving, as people have pointed out, and is in the midst of planning in collaboration with other local nonprofits toward year-round hazardous waste and refrigerants, recycling and disposal, as well as working to reduce the growing food waste problem, since food waste is a significant and growing proportion of landfill greenhouse gas emitting landfill waste. Rumpke will not do that for them. AHRC is the cheaper way to go in the long run, especially when you account for the externalization of environmental costs that Rumpke has in their system. And the pyrolysis is a big deal. I did a lot of research on that, and they are known to send their waste both to Brightmark and also to a new place going in near Newark. I think it's called Lebanon, Ohio, and you have the materials on that too. So they are burning and calling it recycling, and that's greenwashing, and Athens needs to do better. And I know you have the power as a council to pass a resolution to do that, and I hope you do that. It's the first chance you have next week and the following. Thank you.
I'm back again, but I brought new information, so it's all good. My name is Shannon Pratt-Harrington. I live on Hudnall Road in Athens. I'm here on behalf of Zero Waste Event Productions again to talk more about the compost facility, because if we lose the recycling facility, we will lose the compost facility, and that we will lose our ability to do the zero waste plan that we all have. So I'm going to start with talking about how this affects my business again. 15 events we did last year, we were able to offer compost to because we had access to the local compost facility. That includes the Lithopolis Honey Fest, the Columbus Earth Day, the COSI Big Science Festival, a section of the Ohio State Fair, and 2 events that take place at the Columbus Museum of Art. Outside of Ohio, we were able to offer compost to 5 different events. I could list them, but they won't mean much. So we're not the only business that relies upon the compost facility. I know Little Fish, I think, has a compost haul. Do you guys get compost hauling? I don't know. Donkey Coffee does. Court Street Coffee, I believe, has compost with AHRC. So I would also like to point out that Rural Action Zero Waste Program works at events and offers composts. Those events are Bounty on the Bricks, Boogie on the Bricks, Skate Jam, the Indian Mound Festival, the Green Teachers Conference, Athens Roller Derby, and the Happy Hollow Hootenanny. Okay, so we lose the compost facility. Where are we going to take it? This is important for both the city of Athens and for us. The only other compost facility in the area is with OU. Sam knows more about that than me, but I don't think that's a viable option for our compost, probably not the city's compost. The next nearest facility is in Lancaster at the Southeastern Correctional Institute. Besides being 50 minutes away, it is a prison, so the labor for the compost there is questionable, and I think you'll run into some questions from the citizens of Athens if we're sending it there. Next to that is the Pickaway Correctional Facility, which is an hour and a half away. And beyond that, you're looking at Cincinnati, Delaware, and Canton before you find a non-correctional institute and a place that may or may not take compost from out of the community, and they definitely don't take serviceware. In 2023, 760,540 pounds of compost were diverted from the landfill at the local compost facility. So you can look at this in a really cool way and say that 247 tons of CO2 were taken out of the atmosphere by composting that instead of sending it to landfill. This is equivalent to 44 houses' electricity use for a year. So I would encourage you all to figure out how to support the COG and save our compost facility, which is attached to the recycling facility. It makes my job easier. It makes the Rural Action's Zero Waste Program able to service events. It helps community businesses have access to compost. It helps citizens of the community have access to compost. And if we lose it, you're looking at hauling compost very far. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine. I live on Congress Street. I'm also back with new information. I won't repeat anything that's already been said, but I would first like to apologize for what my peers from Ohio University have been sending to the council members. That was the first time I had caught wind of that, and that's really disappointing as you are all here representing our city and representing the people of our city, and that was just very disappointing to hear. So I'm sorry from whatever that means for me as a student here at OU. I'm sorry about that, and thank you for your professionalism in handling that. Second of all, I would like to talk about how there's been so many claims about an increase in prices from different cities who have signed with Rumpke compared to previous solid waste companies. So I picked a case study in Bath Township, which is outside of Akron. And in 2016, Rumpke took over their contract for solid waste management, and by 2020 there had been significant increases in price. These sources I have listed here. If you'd like me to email them to you, I can. The Beacon Journal along with scripttvtype.com are 2 of the local news sources that I pulled. But anyway, the regular curbside compost spiked from 2016 to 2020. Curbside recycling and solid waste management spiked a 13% increase, and this is for regular curbside citizens. And then the senior curbside spiked 20% over the 4 years. So I would just like to touch on the fact that this will disproportionately be affecting our aging community here in Athens, and I think that is something that we all need to consider, who will be actually paying the prices of these price increases. But yeah, that is all I have. I would just like you to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scala. We are approaching 30 minutes on this topic. I do want to give everyone a chance, although there may be people in the hallway. So if you have spoken and you would like to give a fellow citizen the chance to come into the room, you may want to think about switching with them. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Kip Rondi, or Gilbert Rondi. If we're at Catholic school, it's Gilbert. Anyways, I was a co-owner of Green Edge Gardens for many years, and we had 10 greenhouses. We grew year-round without any heat in those greenhouses, and we employed 15 people. And what I want to say is recycling is so important. And you know, I left graduate school to get a job on a garbage truck in Kent, Ohio, and I know what goes on at the landfill. I've been there, and you do not want to keep going in that direction. In fact, we need to be recycling more and more and more. Because look at it, who's going to enforce rules at the landfill? You're lucky if you can get your truck in and out. And I'm not exaggerating. I had the front end of my garbage truck pulled out from underneath me by a dozer in the landfill. And it's a tough place to be. So I'm really encouraging you to really do all of us and this county and the state and the world a better place by continuing recycling. And I, for one, if it costs a little more, I'm here. I'm paying. So thank you. God bless.
Just very, very quickly, Amy Delac again, Environment and Sustainability Commission. Just wanted to remind council, as well as the folks in the room, that in our February meeting, the Environment and Sustainability Commission did approve a unanimous motion to urge the city to move forward expeditiously with the Council of Governments. And the only other thing I want to say is there's about 20 people in the hall, so it might be
Hi, my name is John Goodaccounts, 104 Maplewood Drive in Athens. I know a lot of you guys, and I just want to tell you what ramifications have been happening on West Union, okay? We've lost almost half of our business every single day. I've got employees that I'm going to have to take off the schedule, okay? This is a big deal. I mean, that road is empty half the time. The whole road. One little hole they're digging from the Siemens this week. That was it. And we're staring at a desert, literally, because they can't make it two ways, or do whatever they have to do. But I don't know if we can even wait 5 more months. Really, it's ridiculous. It's a very unique road. You have to go all the way to the Plains exit if you're going north to detour, or you've got to go 18 minutes to the roundabout and come all the way around White's Mill, okay? This is just ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of the businesses from West Union are here, okay? And so I really, really have a huge problem with this. And it's made by the construction company, contracted through the city, and I'm really, really pissed off. This is unbelievable, okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie Rapley of 7 3rd Street in Athens, and I'm representing the Athens Real Estate Company. I was born in Athens. My father was a small business owner in Athens, and I'm very proud to now be a small business owner in Athens as well. West Union Street is a mess. 540 West Union, where we're located, has 10 businesses in our complex, and it's so hard to get to us. As John said, it's a mess with little progress happening at each stage. The cones are difficult to determine where the business entrances are and where they are not. And when the lanes change, it makes it even more difficult because the whole road is torn up and it's hard to tell which one's a lane and which one's closed off. The most impatient among us, certainly none of us here, will see 682 from where our office is and then jet through the closed section in order to get where they need to go, regardless of the one-way flow. So we're asking to make West Union Street 2 ways again and minimize the disruption to businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rapp. I'm going to ask that anybody who's here to speak to the West Union issue, let's complete that, and then we'll finish up, I believe, with the COG issue. But please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Ken Ehlers. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Southeast Ohio, speaking on behalf of that organization this evening. Similar to what John said, our organization so far this month, in March was 30% down, and in a thrift store, that's a lot. Habitat's thrift store operation is unrestricted funds that help support the staffing costs for not only the employees at the store, but also the people in the operations side that build and repair homes for families in need. And so I agree that even 5 months will be a challenge as we continue to see decrease in sales, customers saying that they're not coming down Union Street, also donors saying they're not going to donate items because they simply don't want to go down Union Street. In addition to that, I hear a lot of comments about Stimson. And yes, Stimson had a huge impact, but there were intersecting roads on the north and south ends of Stimson that made it easy for people to be able to get off of Stimson and on, even when it was one way. We don't have that here in Union Street. It is a unique situation, made more difficult by the contractor. Another thing I just want to say is several businesses have tried to reach out to EPW and have had some challenges with communication on that end. Habitat reached out 3 times. The only way I was able to get a response was by copying the mayor in an email, which then we received something right away. To the mayor's credit, he got on it, but the communication from EPW is leaving a lot to be desired, and I would recommend that we move forward with that. So I'm looking into that, and I would encourage anyone to look at expediting any way possible to turn it back into a two-way street. It just is completely complicating the issues on Union Street. It's causing more damage than what it's worth right now. So, we didn't think that Habitat's been through a lot over the last couple of years. Housing issues are the worst they've ever been, and we're doing everything we can. But right now, one of our biggest threats to being able to serve more families is the actions that are happening on Union Street. It's hard for us to be able to continue to operate if we are operating the thrift store at a loss sometimes. So I encourage you to do everything you can to open up Union Street, maintain lines of communication with the businesses and the organizations that are there, and help us get back on our feet. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Ben Holter, 3255 Lad Ridge Road, Athens. I'm a pharmacist and co-owner of Shriver's Pharmacy and Wellness on West Union Street. We opened almost 6 years ago, me and 2 other employees. We now employ 18 people, 11 full-time, good paying jobs, average well over $15 an hour. Just this month, we've seen a $100,000 decline in revenue. We've had a huge increase of delivery requests to the point where I had to buy a second car and hire a second driver just to try to retain what business we've built. I built this thing over the last 5 years with blood, sweat, and tears, and I feel like I'm watching that just slowly trickle away. And to the other folks that have spoke, I mean, West Union is a street made up of local businesses. I mean, it's not full of your national corporate chains. We're all local business owners, and I think we appreciate you looking into doing something. But August that's a long time away, and I don't know that some of us are going to make it that long, to be honest. I'm certainly going to have to lay people off or take people to part-time, and I'm sure some of these other folks are as well. So anything we can do to pivot. And to John's point, it seems, I don't understand why we can't section this off and do it in sections and keep two-way traffic going. So that would be my ask is figure out a way to do that. Let's figure it out. Thank you.
Hi,
Brandon Jackson, live in Athens, general manager of Avalanche Pizza and supervisor of Slice House off of West Union. I think I bring a unique perspective because I helped grow Slice House to where it is and then moved over to East State, but I also travel from West Union to East State through town and around 2 to 3 times a day and have to go on West Union, and it is a mess. And I think the communication with the local businesses was lacking, and I understand that projects cost a lot of money and usually aren't going to stay under budget or on time, but local businesses are suffering, and that's one of my favorite things about Athens is local business and the community. And we are also a big supporter of zero waste and AHRC, so I'll throw my support behind them. Thank you for listening.
Maybe your last West Union speaker. I'm Shauna Stump. I'm a small business owner for 24 years on West Union Street. We are taking a hit down there. And I just want to describe to you in the mornings what happens is we knew this was coming, and it's going to be great when everything gets done and is opened up for these businesses. I'm also a board member on Habitat, and I use AHRC as well. We come in the mornings to open our business, and we'll have trucks on the west side parked. No one can enter that side. I have signs and trucks parked on my other side of my lot. No one can enter on that side. So then I have to call and request again, please, one side, please have it open for us. I think it's a communication issue between that company and what's going on with the businesses as well. And it would be so nice to have someone who actually understood what that was. When you do approach them and ask, please, can you move that truck out? No, they get very upset with us and have yelled and cussed and things like that. Not necessary. We just need one side, some way for people to access, and also a better layout. As they're working down the street, it would be wonderful if they could go through, open up some sides, as well as be able to allow, a lot of people going through there are very confused. The way the placement of the barrels and the signs are, you can't tell where to turn, how to go. So anything that would make it clearer would be wonderful, just so we can get through this process. We know what the end purpose will be, and we've seen it since 2017. It would be wonderful to get there together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Lee, 7 3rd Street with the Athens Real Estate Company. We employ, I think, 7 staff members now, as well with, I think, 18 agents. And I just want to say that whether or not it's one way or two way, if you're sitting in our conference room, you will see people going the other way. So it's a safety issue. I've seen so many near accidents in the last few months. It's madness. So if there's anything that can be done to make it a safe two-way, that would be great. So, thank you.
Any other comments on the West Union construction issue? Are there anybody who wish to speak on a different item than the COG? Okay, we've had 30 minutes on the COG and 15 minutes on the West Union Street. We're going to allow another 15 minutes on the COG. If there are 5 more speakers who would like to speak on the issue of the COG with new information, please come forward. I know Mr. Tepe maybe had something to say.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call for the orders of the day.
Go ahead, Member Swank.
I made the motion. I call for orders of the day.
The orders for the day is a function to allow the is a demand to take up the proper business in order, and it I believe we are taking up proper business in order, Member Swank, but I am happy to present your motion to council, and I believe the law director can tell me that a majority of council would need to vote to approve Mr. Member Swank's motion, and I believe it would need a second. Is that correct?
That's right, but in looking at Robert's Rules of Order, I'm just going to read from it just to make it clear. if the order of business is not being followed, and I guess in this case that we do have one more item of business, and that's a executive session, or if consideration of question is not set for the present time and is now in order, but the matter is not being taken up, single member, by making a call for the order of the day, can require such a schedule to be enforced unless the assembly decides by a 2/3 vote to set the order of the day aside. So a 2/3 vote would continue with the discussion. So there would have to be a motion and a second to allow the current discussion to continue.
I'll move to allow.
Second. Second.
Shall I take a vote?
Member Swank, you look confused or puzzled.
Yeah, by calling for the orders of the day, I would take a 2/3 vote to not allow that to happen, which means there would need to be 5 no votes. This is one of those double negative deals.
Well, can require such a schedule to be enforced unless the assembly decides by a 2/3 vote to set the orders of the day aside.
Right, so voting yes on this, on the motion to call for the orders of the day would be approving the orders of the day. It would have to be 5 people to vote no.
To set the orders of the day aside, meaning that you wouldn't continue with, through the order, you could continue back. Do you agree with that?
Would you say that again, please?
That you would continue on with this discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if there were 5 no votes, you would continue on with this discussion.
All right.
Would Mr. Swank's motion need a second before we proceed?
No, it does not.
Law Director?
Well, according to this, I guess no. In reading, we've never done this before, and I'm looking directly at Robert's Rules of Order. We don't even have this in our own rules as far as a procedure to follow. And it basically does say that it would be a 2/3 vote. So it doesn't require a motion, doesn't require a second, so.
Okay, so before council is
Call the
a
question.
call for the question, which is a motion for to enforce the orders of the day. And I will just remind me, Member Swank, if this is correct, if people vote in the affirmative, then they are calling to end the discussion of this. And if council members vote in the negative, then they are calling to continue the discussion.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Member Swank. Thank you, Director Lyson. So all those in favor of ending the discussion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. Thank you, but as I said, at the direction of the President of Council, I can extend up to 15 minutes for discussions. We will do 15 more minutes, so up to 5 more or more if you don't take as much time to discuss the COG. I also want to make sure everybody knows that the COG will be an item on the Committee of the Whole next week. I also want to make sure you pay attention to our local services that announce meetings, as we are still determining what day next week we will hold that council meeting. With the eclipse on Monday, there are a number of folks who are out of town, and there's also a conflict on Tuesday, so we're not sure if we will be holding council on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week. But whenever it does happen, we will be discussing the COG under the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Tepe.
President Crowell, my name is Nick Tepe. I live on Ellis Avenue in Athens, and I am speaking tonight as a private citizen. I wanted to say that as somebody who has in the past worked quite a bit with public bidding, I'm very sympathetic to how we ended up in this situation. I've also heard many comments about how capitalism should be left to run its course. However, capitalism does require an equal playing field. And we are all very much aware of how large corporations know how to use the existing laws to make the playing field a little bit less even. We are at risk of losing a resource in this community. And in light of what is happening with the larger environment, losing that resource in this community puts the city of Athens and this entire region very much at risk. We have a way to preserve that resource in this community, and I very strongly encourage council to take the action necessary to move us forward towards preserving the resource of Athens Hocking Recycling in our community. Athens Hocking Recycling is a great community partner that I have worked with many times in the past, and I hope that I can continue to work with them in the future. I would also like to speak to the Orca question. As an avid mountain biker, I am on the trails frequently, and I am a volunteer for Orca in helping to maintain the Baileys. I have many connections in the cycling community across the state, and I can tell you that the Baileys is a gigantic explosion in the cycling world. People are coming from hours away, if not days away, to come to the Baileys. I routinely encounter people on the trails who are coming from Pittsburgh, Detroit, Indianapolis, Charleston, Louisville. And when they come, I send them to Sean. I send them to Art. I send them to Casa. That investment is coming back into this community. Now, I've heard questions in the past about proof of the investment that Athens City makes in Orca, demonstrating that the dollars actually work out. That sort of research is difficult, it takes a long time, and it's expensive. However, I can assure you that those impacts are having now. This is a good investment of our dollars to continue to support Orca regardless of what Athens County has done. Thank you.
Good evening. Joe Brem, Chief Program Officer at Rural Action and an Athens County resident, speaking on behalf of Rural Action. The Athens Hocking Recycling Center has been a long-standing partner of ours, especially over the past 15 years, as we have worked to increase recycling rates in Athens and Hocking counties, build a circular economy, and address hard-to-recycle materials in the region. Some of the highlights of this partnership include completing and implementing the Athens Hocking Zero Waste Action Plan, contributing to an increase in recycling and diversion rates in both counties from 8.9% in 2009 to 26.9% in 2020. Still a long ways to go, but great work. We have started a composting program in Athens City, including collaboratively procuring some key pieces of equipment, a composting shredder, a compost bagger, and other necessary equipment. We've leveraged together with HRC and other partners millions of dollars into this region to support solid waste management. And Shannon Pratt-Harrington detailed some of the wonderful benefits associated with the composting program, but HRC over the last 3 years has also helped us process 29,505 pounds of books, 28,250 pounds of electronic waste, 3,300 pounds of hard plastics, and supporting recycling through community events over 2,500 pounds. And this represents approximately 200 tons of CO2 prevented from entering the atmosphere. I think it's also key to point out that HRC is a key reason why some of our iconic local events like Nelsonville Music Festival and the Pop-Off Festival are able to achieve such high diversion rates. And without HRC, the end destination for composts, as Shannon detailed, for an event like Nelsonville Music Festival is uncertain, and it's difficult to imagine these events retaining their zero waste status. For us, for Rural Action, this really comes down to our firm belief in the local ownership of assets. And this belief did not develop lightly, but through years of listening to Appalachian Ohio communities whose voices were historically suppressed by outside companies, corporations, and agencies who have treated our region like an internal colony. Over the past 40 years, community members, organizations, and agencies have been working to keep solid waste assets under local ownership, and AHRC is a key piece of this. Without local ownership of assets, we're vulnerable to and subject to economic trends and corporate whims. In conclusion, we believe this Council of Governments will keep ownership of our remaining solid waste assets local. Partners who have already committed to joining the COG as founding members, like Athens Hocking Solid Waste District, have a vision for the future that aligns perfectly with ours, of our vision for thriving communities, healthy forests, and clean streams. So by committing to the COG, its formation, its functioning, its strategic planning, and contracting its services, the City of Athens can be a part of moving forward a vision for solid waste that keeps good paying jobs close to home, encourages innovation, ensures access to recycling, and benefits the entire region. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather Johnson. I live down in Franklin, and I want to second everything everyone previously said about sustainability and the price increases when it comes to Rumpke. But to bring a new perspective to this, I worked for OU Campus Recycling for 4 years, and if we lose AHRC, it's not just the city of Athens that loses it, but also OU and many other services in the Athens and Hawking counties. When I worked for OU, AHRC was very hands-on and very helpful. They even helped us put on exhibits for Earth Day and Pollution Prevention Week, one of which included them picking up all the recycling from campus and then us coming and taking 4,200 pounds of plastic and bringing it back, and then they had to come re-pick that up again, and they did it all for free because they just care about educating this community and they care about the environment. Additionally, high volume waste weekends at OU, such as move in and move out, would not be possible without AHRC's help. They work with us very closely, and they do really early morning and really late night dumpster runs to make sure the dumpsters are empty and people have places to throw their trash. And then also at OU, we have a composting facility, but that composting facility does not have a shredder, and we rely heavily at OU Campus Recycling on the shredder at AHRC's facility to take some of our compost to that, which we will no longer have if AHRC goes under. In addition to that, they also take our hard plastics and a lot of books from us. And those are all things that at Campus Recycling we had to drive to the facility ourselves to do. And so if AHRC shuts down and we no longer have those facilities, OU will not be able to recycle any of those materials. And so I am here in support of the COG because not only does that help this Athens community, but it helps greater communities outside of that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joe Radwinny. I live on Swart Road in Albany, Ohio. I'm a nonpartisan plumber electrician that does about half his work in the city of Athens, which is to say I pay municipal taxes, so I help pay your salaries. I can't vote for you, but you gotta listen to me. I've been actively involved in recycling for over 25 years, and with the help of Rural Action, our community was able to secure the funding to build our own local multi-material recycling facility. Their finances are tenuous. You all know the benefits that AHRC has to offer. The new information I am here to proffer is we're behind schedule. Time is wasting. I am asking you to declare propose an ordinance under emergency provisions so you don't have to wait 3 meetings to get it passed. The whole community knows that this is what they want you all to do. So there are ways within Robert's rule. I've seen you guys do it for things as perennial as Halloween, okay? Or when you need to move a couple $1 million from this fund to that fund. I think time is of the essence, and now the responsibility lies with you all. So I thank you for your service and encourage you to act swiftly. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Mojoleski. I'm an employee of AHRC. I have been for 5 years. I'm here to talk about me and my coworkers and jobs. I think Rumpke was fine before they came here, and I think they'd be fine without Athens. But if you put AHRC out of business, I was here 4 years ago for this when we did the bidding, and everybody, I have many guys that were here with me that still work there, and we were scared to death to lose our job then. We are now. But if Rumpke isn't here, or if Rumpke is here, you're going to put 40 or more people out of jobs, and this is their career, and they have to go searching for new jobs and new skills that they've been doing for so long here. Like I said, I've lived here for 6 years, and I've been at AHRC for 5, and I'm here to fight for my job and fight for my coworkers' jobs. I just want to let everybody know that everything you're recycling is getting touched with these hands and the multiple other hands. It's going to where it needs to go. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
I'm Sarah Koya. I'm here on behalf of my local business, which is Cool Digs. We also partner with AHRC. We have for the last 12 years. I also see them at our community festivals, out at work running zero waste. And I just am very concerned about what's going to happen to all of this waste if we lose our local recycling company. And I also am just wondering what happened to Shop Local? What happened to that? You know, you guys have an opportunity here to pass an emergency ordinance and fix what we should have done last year, which was shop local. Keep our local jobs here. AHRC is not just business here, it's a social enterprise. Just keep that in mind. That's what Athens is built on, and that's what we purport to desire. So let's keep it real. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Hughes, local business owner of Village Bakery in Athens, and one of the many independent business leaders in Athens who strongly support the Athens City becoming a founding member of this COG in order to use the services of Athens Hocking Recycling Center. But today, at this late stage of decision making, I wanted to acknowledge that there's a less than ideal timeline, and that as a business owner, I'm familiar with that kind of stress. And what we find is that having confidence in what our business is all about is what we fall back on when it comes down to the wire, and that has served us well when time is of the essence. With that said, I'd just like to describe 6 ways that I see the city will benefit by taking this action. 1, joining the COG will foster a productive culture of cooperation among its members, increasing accountability and transparency in our solid waste management system. 2, it will mean increased educational opportunities and community engagement around our sustainability and zero waste goals. 3, it will allow members of the COG to enact long-range planning for waste management, building a stronger foundation for success. 4, using this regional council nonprofit model allows Athens to demonstrate that strong community values are an economic strength, attracting businesses and residents to our innovative community. 5, local, fairly compensated jobs that offer the satisfaction of working for the greater good are beneficial for the workers as well as our local tax base. Keeping wages circulating locally rather than siphoned away to distant urban centers increases the prosperity and security of our community. And 6, by joining the COG and utilizing the resources of AHRC, Athens City will win local control over our solid waste management. And Athens City residents are all about local control. So we're grateful for the work done over the decades by many kinds of local leaders to make Athens a better place for all to live and work. This Council of Governments for Solid Waste Management is a continuation of that progress, a cog moving us in the right direction. Thank you.
We sincerely appreciate you all coming out and sharing your thoughts on these issues. They're very important to all of us up here, and stay tuned. We will be moving into executive session, although we will be available for Professor Suddas' students to ask questions. Normally we do 15 minutes. Is that 10 minutes? Okay, so we'll go till 8:50 with the students, and then we'll need to close the door and move into executive session. Please move on with safety, and maybe we'll see you next week.